Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak English Daily Story.
The place where learning English is simple, fun, and part of everyday life.
Today's story is about a very special month, a month that confuses everyone.
A month that brings sunshine and rain, hope and frustration, warmth and cold, sometimes all in the same day.
Yes, today we are talking about March.
Our story begins on a chilly morning. The sky is gray and the wind moves gently through the empty streets.
Winter has not completely left yet, but something feels different in the air.
Inside a small apartment, Mike sits at the kitchen table holding a cup of coffee.
But something is wrong. He sneezes. Achoo! Then again, achoo!
Mike grabs a tissue and sighs. "Oh no, not again," he mutters. Just then, Sarah walks into the room.
Good morning, Mike, she says cheerfully.
Mike sniffles. "Morning."
Sarah looks at him carefully.
"Mike, are you okay? You sound strange today." Mike rubs his nose.
I'm fine. I just think my nose has decided to go crazy this week.
Sarah laughs a little. "Let me guess. Watery eyes, runny nose, sneezing every 5 minutes?"
Mike looks surprised. How did you know?
Sarah smiles. "Welcome to March." Mike groans dramatically. "March did this to me."
Sarah nods. March does this to everyone. She pours herself a cup of coffee and sits down.
"March is the third month of the year," she begins. "It comes after February and before April."
Mike nods slowly. Yes, but more importantly, it comes with chaos.
Sarah laughs. "Exactly. March weather is famous for being unpredictable."
Mike raises an eyebrow. Unpredictable?
Sarah explains. Unpredictable means you cannot guess what will happen next. Mike thinks about it. That sounds exactly like the weather yesterday. Sarah leans back in her chair. One day it's sunny and warm. The next day it's freezing and raining. Mike sighs. And sometimes both happen in the same afternoon. Sarah nods. That's the magic of March. Mike remembers something. Last week, I left the house wearing only a t-shirt because the morning was beautiful. Sarah smiles. And then? Mike shakes his head. By lunchtime, I was freezing. Sarah laughs. March tricked you. Mike nods seriously. Yes, March is a liar. Sarah laughs again. No, March is just dramatic. Mike thinks for a moment. You know what March reminds me of? What? Sarah asked. A friend who says, I'll be there in 5 minutes, but arrives 2 hours later. Sarah bursts out laughing. That is the perfect description. Then she says something interesting. Actually, there is a famous English saying about March. Mike looks curious. Oh, really? Sarah nods. Yes. She says slowly and clearly. March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. Mike thinks about it. I've heard that before, but what does it mean? Sarah explains. It means the beginning of March is usually wild, cold, and stormy, like a lion. Mike nods. And the end of March? Sarah smiles. The end of March is calm, warm, and gentle, like a lamb. Mike imagines a small, fluffy lamb. That sounds nice. Then he pauses. But is that always true? Sarah shrugs. Not always. Mike grins. Sometimes March comes in like a lion and leaves like a slightly smaller lion. Sarah laughs. That sounds more realistic. Outside, the wind suddenly blows strongly against the window. Whoosh! Mike looks outside. What was that? Sarah explains. That was a gust of wind. Mike tilts his head. A gust? Sarah nods. Yes, a gust is a sudden, strong push of wind. Mike nods slowly. So everything is calm, and suddenly, whoosh! Exactly, Sarah says. Mike remembers something funny. Last week, a gust of wind almost blew my hat away. Sarah laughs. That happens all the time in March. Mike continues. One time I was holding coffee outside. And? Sarah asked. A gust of wind came and the lid flew off. Sarah laughs loudly. Oh no! Mike sighs. Coffee everywhere. Sarah shakes her head. March and coffee are not friends. Mike adds another thought. And March and white shoes are not friends either. Sarah laughs again. Why? Mike points to the ground outside. Because everything becomes muddy. Sarah nods. Muddy means the ground is wet and dirty. Mike remembers a walk in the park. I walked through the park last week wearing white shoes. And? They became brown shoes. Sarah laughs again. Welcome to March. But suddenly, the clouds outside begin to move. A small ray of sunshine appears. Mike looks out the window. Oh, look! Sarah smiles. That is called a bright spell. Mike turns to her. A bright spell? Yes, Sarah explains. It means a short period of sunshine between the clouds. Mike watches the sunlight for a moment. That feels nice. Sarah nods. People get very excited about those moments. Mike laughs. Yes, people run outside like they haven't seen the sun for years. Sarah smiles. Humans become sunflowers. Mike looks confused. Sunflowers? Sarah explains. Sunflowers always turn toward the sun. Mike laughs. So do we. Sarah looks outside again. And the best part of March is not just the weather. Mike raises his eyebrow. What else happens? Sarah smiles warmly. Nature wakes up. Mike looks curious. Wakes up? Yes, Sarah says. For months, everything was cold, gray, and quiet. Mike nods. Winter. But in March, Sarah continues, something magical starts to happen. Mike listens carefully. Flowers begin to bloom. Mike repeats the word. Bloom? Sarah nods. Bloom means when flowers open and show their colors. Mike imagines a garden. That sounds beautiful. Sarah continues.
Trees begin to blossom too.
Mike asks, what's the difference between bloom and blossom? Sarah explains.
We usually use bloom for flowers and blossom for trees.
Mike nods. Like cherry trees?
Sarah smiles. Yes, cherry trees blossom with beautiful pink and white flowers.
Mike then imagines the scene. That must look amazing. Sarah continues the story.
And something else happens.
Mike leans forward. What?
Small plants begin to sprout.
Mike repeats the word slowly. Sprout. Sarah explains.
It means when a tiny plant pushes through the ground and begins to grow.
Mike laughs. Like a tiny green finger coming out of the earth. Sarah laughs.
That's a funny way to describe it. Outside, birds begin singing softly.
Mike listens. You know what? What? Sarah asks. I think spring is on the horizon. Sarah smiles.
That's a great expression.
Mike asks, what does it mean exactly? Sarah explains.
When something is on the horizon, it means it is coming soon.
Mike nods. Not here yet, but close. Exactly, Sarah says. Mike stretches and smiles. You know what? What? I think March helps people snap out of winter. Sarah nods. Yes, To snap out of something means to suddenly stop a bad mood or lazy feeling. Mike laughs. So March helps us snap out of winter laziness. Sarah smiles.
Exactly. Outside, the clouds move again, the sun shines brighter, and somewhere in the distance, a small flower begins to bloom.
Spring is not fully here yet, but something is changing. Something hopeful.
Because even when March weather is crazy, spring is on the horizon. The bright spell outside the window didn't last long.
As Mike and Sarah sat quietly watching the sunlight, the clouds slowly returned.
The sky turned gray again, and the wind began to whisper through the trees.
Mike sighed. See, that's exactly what I mean.
March gives you hope and then takes it away 5 minutes later. Sarah laughed.
That's true. March loves playing tricks on people.
Mike stood up and walked to the window.
Outside, the trees were moving gently in the wind.
The ground was still wet from yesterday's rain, and small puddles reflected the cloudy sky.
You know, Mike said thoughtfully, winter always feels endless when you're inside it.
Sarah nodded. Yes, it does.
But when March arrives, Mike continued, you suddenly realize winter is almost over.
Sarah smiled. That's why people love March so much. Mike turned around. Even though the weather is crazy? Sarah shrugged.
Yes, because March brings hope.
Mike sat back down at the table. I guess you're right. He looked at his cup of coffee again. But suddenly,
Achoo!
Mike sneezed loudly. Sarah burst out laughing.
Bless you!
Mike groaned.
This pollen is destroying me.
Sarah nodded sympathetically. Yes, pollen season has started. Mike rubbed his eyes.
They're itchy, too.
Sarah explained gently. That's what pollen does. Mike sighed.
For people who don't know, pollen is the tiny powder that comes from flowers.
Sarah added, and trees. Mike nodded.
It floats through the air during spring.
Sarah continued. And when some people breathe it in, their body reacts. Mike raised his hand dramatically.
Yes, my body reacts like pollen is a dangerous enemy.
Sarah smiled. And that reaction is called hay fever. Mike leaned back in his chair.
Hay fever, the worst gift spring gives me every year.
Sarah laughed. Millions of people around the world have the same problem. Mike nodded.
Runny nose.
Sarah added, watery eyes. Mike continued.
Sneezing.
Sarah finished. And itchy throat. Mike sighed again.
I love spring, but spring doesn't love me.
Sarah smiled kindly. Don't worry, the pollen won't last forever. Mike nodded slowly.
Good, because I don't think my nose can survive much longer.
They both laughed. Outside, the wind picked up again. A stronger gust pushed against the window.
Whoosh. Mike looked outside again. You know what I've noticed?
What? Sarah asked. March wind is different from winter wind.
Sarah tilted her head. How?
Mike thought for a moment. Winter wind feels cold and angry.
Sarah nodded. That's true. But March wind feels playful, Mike said.
Sarah smiled. That's a nice way to describe it. Mike pointed outside. Look at those trees.
The branches were moving gently back and forth. They look like they're stretching after a long nap.
Sarah laughed. I like that image. Mike continued.
Winter was like a long sleep for nature. Sarah nodded.
Yes. And now everything is waking up.
Mike suddenly noticed something in the garden outside the building. Wait.
What? Mike asked. Mike pointed. Look over there.
Near the edge of the garden, tiny green leaves were pushing through the soil. Sarah smiled.
Oh, yes, they're sprouting. Mike leaned closer to the window. They weren't there last week.
Sarah nodded. That's the magic of spring. Mike watched carefully.
Plants grow so quietly. Sarah smiled. Yes, nature doesn't rush.
Mike turned back toward Sarah. You know something funny? What? People get very emotional about spring. Sarah laughed. That's true. Mike continued. I saw a man yesterday sitting on a bench in the park. Sarah listened.
He was just sitting there with his face turned toward the sun. Sarah smiled. People do that a lot. Mike laughed. Like cats.
Sarah laughed loudly. Yes! Mike continued. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting there enjoying the sunlight. Sarah nodded.
After months of winter, sunlight feels special again, Mike said.
It's like everyone suddenly remembers how good the sun feels. Sarah smiled warmly.
That's because the days are getting longer. Mike nodded.
Longer days always improve people's mood. Sarah explained.
In winter, the sun sets very early, Mike added.
Sometimes before people even finish work. Sarah continued.
But in March, the sun stays a little longer each day. Mike looked thoughtful.
It's like the world slowly becomes brighter. Sarah smiled.
Yes. Mike looked out the window again. You know what else I like about March?
What? The sounds. Sarah listened carefully.
Outside, birds were singing softly. Oh, yes, she said. Birds return in spring.
Mike smiled. I didn't hear birds for months. Sarah nodded. Many birds travel to warmer places during winter. Mike asked, and now they're coming back? Sarah nodded. Yes. Mike listened to the birds again.
They sound happy. Sarah laughed. Maybe they are. Mike smiled. Imagine flying thousands of kilometers just to find warm weather.
Sarah nodded. That's exactly what they do. Mike leaned back.
Animals are smarter than humans. Sarah laughed. Why do you say that? Mike smiled. Because animals move somewhere warm when it gets cold. Sarah raised an eyebrow. And humans? Mike shrugged. We just complain about the weather. They both laughed. A few minutes passed quietly. The wind outside became softer again.
Then Sarah stood up. Come on.
Mike looked confused. Where are we going?
Sarah grabbed her jacket. Outside.
Mike looked shocked. Outside in this weather?
Sarah smiled. Yes. Mike looked suspicious.
You said March weather is unpredictable. Sarah nodded. Exactly.
Mike crossed his arms. So why would we go outside?
Sarah smiled confidently. Because when the sun appears in March, you must enjoy it.
Mike thought about that. She had a point. He stood up slowly.
Fine. Sarah laughed. But bring your windbreaker.
Mike grabbed his light jacket, my March survival tool. Sarah nodded.
Good idea. They walked downstairs and stepped outside. The air was cool but fresh.
Mike took a deep breath. Wow. Sarah smiled. Feels good, right?
Mike nodded. Yes, the fresh air filled his lungs.
This is why people air out their homes in March. Sarah smiled. Yes.
Mike asked, Do you know what my favorite March activity is? What?
Opening every window in my apartment. Sarah laughed. Yes.
Mike continued. After months of keeping everything closed during winter, fresh air feels amazing.
Sarah nodded. Exactly. Mike said, the house suddenly feels alive again.
Sarah smiled. And so do people. They began walking slowly toward the park.
The ground was a little muddy, but the air smelled fresh. Mike noticed something interesting.
Look at the trees.
Sarah looked up. Small buds were appearing on the branches.
Look at the trees. Sarah looked up. Small buds were appearing on the branches.
They're preparing to blossom, Mike smiled.
It's like the trees are getting dressed for spring.
Sarah laughed. That's a beautiful way to describe it. Mike nodded.
In a few weeks, those branches will be covered with flowers.
Sarah smiled. And the entire park will look completely different. Mike looked around.
You know something?
What?
March is like a promise.
Sarah nodded thoughtfully. A promise? Mike smiled.
Yes, a promise that winter will end.
Sarah looked at the sky. And that warmer days are coming. Mike nodded.
Exactly.
They continued walking through the park.
Birds were singing, children were playing. A man walked past them with a dog.
The dog jumped happily through a muddy puddle. Mike laughed.
That dog definitely doesn't care about muddy shoes.
Sarah laughed. No, dogs love mud. Mike looked around again.
You know, even though March is unpredictable,
Sarah finished his sentence. It's also beautiful.
Mike nodded. Yes.
The wind moved gently through the trees again, but this time it felt softer.
Warmer. Friendlier. Mike smiled. Maybe March isn't so bad after all.
Sarah smiled back. I told you.
They continued walking through the park, enjoying the fresh air and the small signs of spring all around them.
Because even though winter had not completely disappeared, the world was changing, little by little.
And somewhere beneath the soil, thousands of tiny seeds were preparing to sprout because spring was getting closer.
Closer every day. And just like Sarah said earlier, spring was definitely on the horizon.